Right now, at this very moment, millions of people across the planet are waking up with a specific, deeply unsettling feeling. It's not anxiety in the traditional sense. It's not depression, though it might wear that mask. It's something far more profound and difficult to articulate. It's a sense that the world around you looks exactly the same. Same buildings, same streets, same faces. But the fundamental vibe has shifted beneath your feet like tectonic plates moving in slow motion. Your old routines, the ones that used to give you structure and meaning, now feel like heavy weights chained to your ankles. Your old conversations, even with people you've known for years, feel strangely hollow, like you're speaking different languages while using the same words. And time feels like it's glitching. Have you noticed this? Days that feel like weeks, weeks that vanish in what seems like hours. Moments where you look at the clock and swear it's moving differently than it should. You're not imagining this. If you feel like you're losing it, if you've wondered whether something is fundamentally wrong with you, I have a critical message for you right now. You aren't going crazy. You are outgrowing your current dimension. Let that sink in for a moment. Read it again if you need to. In 2026, we have entered what quantum masters and spiritual teachers across different traditions are calling the Great Bifurcation. This isn't metaphorical language. This isn't wishful thinking or New Age fantasy. The frequency of the planet, the literal vibrational rate at which Earth and collective consciousness are operating, has accelerated beyond the 3D survival matrix that humanity has operated within for thousands of years. And your physical body, your emotional patterns, your entire nervous system is struggling to keep up with your soul's new speed. Think of it like this. Imagine you've been driving a car at 30 miles per hour your entire life. And suddenly, without warning, the road itself started moving at 80 miles per hour. You didn't choose to accelerate. The ground beneath you did. That disorienting, destabilizing feeling you're experiencing. That's the friction between where you were and where you're being pulled. In the next 40 minutes, Mulon, I'm going to explain exactly why strange has become the new normal. We're going to move through this systematically, because you deserve clarity in the chaos. We'll cover the 7 core symptoms of the 2026 shift that you're probably experiencing right now but haven't had language for. We'll explore why your sleep is being hijacked at 3 a.m. with razor-sharp precision. And we'll decode the quantum vacuum. That terrifying, empty silence that happens right before your entire life structure completely resets. If you felt isolated in this journey, if you've looked around and felt like you're the only one experiencing this reality shift, this video is your confirmation. You're not alone. You're not broken. And most importantly, you are exactly where you need to be. This isn't going to be a typical YouTube video where I ask you to smash the like button in the first 30 seconds. This is a transmission. If you're here, you were meant to receive this information at this exact moment. Your soul orchestrated this meeting. So take a deep breath. Maybe turn off other distractions for the next 40 minutes, get comfortable, and let's decode the shift together. Before we dive into the symptoms and experiences, we need to understand the cosmic mathematics at play. And yes, I said mathematics because numbers carry frequency, and frequency creates reality. 2026 is what numerologists call a 1 year in the universal cycle. When you break it down, 2 plus 0 plus 2 plus 6 equals 10 and 1 plus 0 equals 1. Now, if you're not familiar with numerology, you might think this is arbitrary. But let me explain why this matters to your current experience. In the numerological system, we move through 9-year cycles. Each year carries a specific energetic signature that influences collective consciousness and individual experience. The number 9 represents completion, ending, release, and closure. It's the final chapter before a new book begins. 2025 was a 9-year. 2 plus 0 plus 2 plus 5 equals 9. And I want you to stop right now and think back. Did your life feel like it hit a massive brick wall in late 2025? Did relationships end suddenly? Did jobs that seemed stable become intolerable? Did your sense of identity start crumbling in ways that felt almost violent? Here's what most people don't understand. That wasn't a failure. That was the end of the 9-year cycle. You had to be completely cleared out, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, and often physically, to receive the 2026 frequency. Think of it like renovating a house. Before you can install new plumbing, new electrical systems, new foundations, you have to demolish the old structure. The demolition phase is loud, messy, disorienting, and it looks like destruction, but it's actually preparation. The number 1 carries the energy of new beginnings, raw potential, initiation, and pioneering. It's the spark of creation itself. But here's the catch that nobody tells you. You cannot birth the new while still clutching the old. The universe had to pry your fingers off everything that was keeping you locked in the old timeline. And it wasn't gentle, was it? This is why so many people entered 2026 feeling stripped, naked, vulnerable, like they'd lost everything that defined them. Your career identity gone or meaningless, your relationship structures dissolved or revealed as hollow. Your social circles suddenly feeling like strangers, your belief systems crumbling under the weight of new awareness. This wasn't punishment. This was preparation. The 1-year energy is asking you a fundamental question. Who are you when everything external is stripped away? Who are you in the void? Who are you when you can't rely on your old titles, roles, relationships, and achievements to define you? This is uncomfortable because we've been conditioned to build identity from external sources. But 2026 is demanding that you find the unshakable core of who you are beneath all the costumes you've worn. And here's where it gets really interesting. The 1 year doesn't just ask you to find yourself, it demands that you pioneer a completely new version of your life based on that authentic core. You're not going back to anything. There is no normal to return to. You're being asked to build something that has never existed before using a blueprint that can only be accessed from within. This is why everything feels so strange. You're in the gap between worlds. The old game is over, but the new game hasn't fully revealed its rules yet. And your soul? Your soul is absolutely ecstatic about this, even while your human self is terrified. Before we move forward, I want you to pause and acknowledge something. If you made it through 2025 and you're still here, still seeking understanding, still reaching for growth despite the pain, you're stronger than you realize. The fact that you're watching this video right now means you survived the 9-year purge. You're still standing, and that matters more than you know. Let's talk about one of the most disorienting symptoms of the 2026 shift. The complete distortion of time as you've known it. You're not imagining this. Time genuinely feels different now, and there's a quantum reason for it. For your entire life, you've been operating in what we call linear time. The belief that time moves in a straight line from past to present to future, one moment following another in predictable sequence. This is 3D time. This is the time construct that keeps us locked in cause and effect thinking, in regret about the past and anxiety about the future. But as the frequency of the planet accelerates, as your consciousness expands, you begin to shift into what advanced teachers call vertical time or simultaneous time. This is 5D time, where past, present, and future exist as a unified field of now. I know this sounds abstract, so let me make it concrete with your actual experience. Have you noticed that a single afternoon can contain what feels like a year's worth of emotional processing? You sit down in meditation or journaling, and in what seems like 20 minutes, you've moved through grief, revelation, healing, integration, and rebirth. You look at the clock and only 30 minutes have passed, but you feel like you've lived a lifetime. This is vertical time. You're processing multiple timelines simultaneously. You're healing past wounds, making current decisions, and receiving future insights all in the same moment. This is why time feels compressed. On the flip side, have you experienced weeks that seem to vanish? You look up and realize it's suddenly mid-January and you have no clear memory of how you got here? Days blend together in a fog where nothing feels particularly memorable or significant? This is also vertical time, but from a different angle. When you're vibrating at a higher frequency, mundane 3D activities that used to fill your time, scrolling social media, watching television, engaging in surface-level activities, no longer register as meaningful experiences. Your consciousness literally doesn't encode them as memorable because they carry no frequency signature that matches your new vibration. So entire days pass, and your soul essentially says nothing of vibrational significance happened here and doesn't store it as a meaningful memory. This creates the sensation that time is disappearing. Here's another glitch you might be experiencing. Precognitive moments. You think of someone and they immediately text you, "Yo tayo today." You have a vivid dream and it manifests in physical reality within days. You know what someone is going to say before they say it. You walk into a place you've never been and have the overwhelming sense you've been there before. This isn't coincidence. This is your consciousness beginning to operate outside the linear time prison. You're accessing information from the unified field where all possibilities exist simultaneously. Your intuition is no longer bound by the constraints of sequential time. And this is where it gets challenging. Your physical body and ego mind are still partially anchored in linear time, while your soul and higher consciousness are operating in vertical time. This creates a split in your awareness that feels deeply disorienting. Part of you is trying to plan your future, set goals, follow timelines. Another part of you knows that future, past, and present are happening right now. And the very concept of planning feels absurd. This internal conflict creates decision-making paralysis where you can't commit to anything because you can sense multiple timelines branching out from every choice. The other time distortion you're experiencing is what I call quantum insomnia. And we're going to get very specific about this because I know many of you are experiencing it. You go to sleep at a normal time, fall asleep relatively easily, and then, like clockwork, you wake up between 2 a.m. and 4 a.m., usually around 3 a.m. You're wide awake, mind racing, often with profound insights or unsettling thoughts. This isn't random. Between 2 a.m. and 4 a.m., the veil between dimensions is thinnest. The collective consciousness is quieter because most people in your hemisphere are asleep. And your higher self is using this window to download information, recalibrate your energy system, and show you truths that your daytime consciousness is too busy or defended to receive. This is also the time when your body is processing the frequency upgrades you're receiving. Think of it like your phone updating its operating system. The update has to happen when you're not actively using all the apps. Your consciousness has to be in a liminal state, not fully asleep, not fully awake, to integrate the new codes. If you're waking at 3 a.m., your system is being upgraded. I know it's exhausting. I know you want a full night's sleep. but your soul is prioritizing transformation over comfort right now. The final time glitch I want to address is timeline jumping. This is the sensation that you've shifted into a parallel reality where details are slightly different. You remember something one way, but the evidence shows it differently. People remember you doing or saying things you have no memory of. Your surroundings feel subtly off, like you're in a very convincing simulation of your life, but not quite the original. This isn't false memory. You are literally shifting between parallel timelines as you evolve. Every time you make a choice aligned with your highest frequency, you quantum leap into a timeline where that version of reality is dominant. The old timeline doesn't disappear, it still exists, but you're no longer vibrationally tethered to it. This is why people from your past might suddenly feel like strangers. They're not changing. You've shifted into a timeline where your relationship with them no longer serves your evolution. So the energetic connection is dissolved even though the physical person still exists. Before we move to the next module, I want to give you a practical anchor. When time feels glitchy, come back to your breath. Your breath is the only thing that exists in true present moment. It's the bridge between linear and vertical time. 3 deep breaths will bring you back into your body and into now. Now we need to talk about the experience that's probably causing you the most distress right now. The void. This is the feeling of being completely stuck, suspended, waiting for a train that never arrives. You can feel that something massive is about to happen in your life, but nothing is happening. You're in a holding pattern and it feels like torture. Let me describe what you're probably experiencing. You wake up every day with a sense of anticipation, like you're on the edge of a breakthrough. You check your email, your phone, your bank account, expecting the thing, the job offer, the relationship, the opportunity, the clarity to finally arrive. But day after day, there's nothing, just more waiting, just more silence, just more empty space. You try to take action. You apply for jobs, you reach out to people, you start projects. But everything feels like you're pushing a boulder uphill through mud. Nothing gains traction. Doors that should open stay closed. Opportunities that seem perfect fall through at the last minute. It's like the universe is actively blocking you from moving forward. So you think maybe you're supposed to surrender, to stop trying, to just be patient. But when you do that, the anxiety intensifies. You feel like you're wasting time, falling behind, missing your window. The internal pressure builds until you can't stand it anymore, so you try to force movement again. And the cycle repeats. Welcome to the void. Let me explain what's actually happening here, because once you understand it, the torture eases just a bit. The void is the quantum gap between timelines. Remember, you just completed a 9-year cycle. The old timeline is finished, completely done. But the new timeline hasn't fully anchored yet. You're in the space between death and rebirth, and this space has no form, no structure, no familiar landmarks. In this gap, your old manifestation methods don't work anymore. Vision boards, affirmations, action plans, all the tools that used to create results are suddenly ineffective. This isn't because you're doing something wrong, it's because those tools were designed for the old frequency and you're no longer operating there. The void demands something completely different from you. Surrender at a level you've never experienced before. Not the spiritual bypassing kind of surrender where you pretend you don't care about outcomes. Not the defeated kind of surrender where you give up. But the alchemical surrender where you become so empty, so still, so devoid of agenda that you become a pure vessel for your soul's next directive. Here's the paradox that makes this so challenging. The void looks like nothing is happening, but energetically everything is happening. While your external reality appears frozen, your internal reality is being completely rewired. Your belief systems are being dissolved and rebuilt. Your energy field is being recalibrated to match frequencies that haven't existed on this planet before. Your DNA is being activated. Your neural pathways are being reorganized. This isn't visible. It doesn't show up on your resume or your bank statement, but it's the most important work you'll ever do. The void is also a protection mechanism. Your soul knows that if you moved into the new timeline with your old patterns, beliefs, and coping mechanisms still intact, you would recreate the same limitations in a new form. So it's forcing you to sit in the emptiness long enough that those old patterns starve and die from lack of use. Think of it like this. If you're addicted to being busy, to producing, to achieving, to being needed, the void will keep you suspended until that addiction is broken. If you're addicted to romantic relationship drama, to being saved, to external validation, the void will isolate you until you find wholeness within yourself. If you're addicted to control, to knowing, to certainty, the void will strip all of that away until you can trust without evidence. The void is custom designed to kill whatever is preventing your next evolution. Now I want to address the terror of the void directly because I know some of you are experiencing actual panic. The terror comes from the ego's interpretation that nothing happening means I'm failing or I'm being forgotten or I've lost my chance. Your ego interprets the void as death, and it's right, it is death. But it's the death of the false self, not your essence. The version of you that derived worth from productivity, achievement, busyness, and external validation is dying. And that version is fighting for its life, creating panic to try to force you back into the old patterns. But your soul is celebrating because it knows what's coming on the other side of this void. Here's what you need to understand. You cannot rush this phase. You cannot skip it. Every person who has ever gone through a genuine spiritual awakening has encountered the void. Jesus in the desert for 40 days. Buddha under the Bodhi tree. The shamanic initiation in the dark cave. The dark night of the soul. This is an ancient, sacred process. The only way through is through. But I can give you some tools to make it more bearable. First, stop interpreting the void as evidence that you're on the wrong path. The void is the path right now. Second, use this time for deep internal work, therapy, shadow work, journaling, meditation, energy healing. This is the perfect time because you don't have external distractions. Third, trust the timing. I know you're tired of hearing this, but something is being built behind the scenes that requires this exact amount of time. Your frustration won't speed it up. Fourth, notice what arises in the emptiness. Your true desires, your authentic voice, your real values. These emerge when everything else goes quiet. Ndilun. At the 18-minute mark, I want to do something. I want to see how many of us are in this together. If you are currently in the void phase, if you resonated with what I just described, type in the void in the comments right now. Let's see how many of us are in this transition together. Because I promise you, you're not alone in this. Thousands of people are in the same holding pattern, and there's power in acknowledging it collectively. As your frequency rises, your physical body goes through what I call sensory recalibration. You're becoming more energetically sensitive, and this shows up in very specific, often uncomfortable ways. Let's start with one that many of you are experiencing. Tinnitus, or ringing in the ears. This isn't the kind of tinnitus that comes from hearing damage, though it might sound similar. This is a high-pitched frequency, often in one ear or both, that comes and goes seemingly at random. Sometimes it's accompanied by a feeling of pressure in the head or behind the eyes. Here's what's happening. Your energetic field is expanding, but and your physical body is receiving high-frequency light codes and information downloads. The ringing is actually your nervous system trying to process frequencies that are beyond the normal human hearing range. You're literally hearing dimensions that have always been there but were previously inaccessible to you. Different frequencies mean different things. A high-pitched tone in the right ear often indicates you're receiving new information or downloads from your higher self. A tone in the left ear can indicate you're releasing old programming or clearing ancestral patterns. A tone in both ears simultaneously often happens during powerful energetic shifts in the collective field. Now let me talk about something that might seem completely unrelated but is actually directly connected. Sudden changes in your dietary needs and tolerances. Have you noticed that foods you used to love now make you feel sick? Meat, alcohol, processed foods, sugar. These are the most common ones. You might take one bite of something that used to be your favorite meal and your body immediately rejects it. Nausea, headaches, brain fog, fatigue, digestive issues. This isn't a food allergy developing randomly. This is your body's vibrational rate rising to a point where low-frequency substances create dissonance in your system. Everything carries a frequency, including food. Dead animals carry the frequency of death and fear. Alcohol lowers your vibration and opens you to lower entities. Processed foods carry frequencies of chemicals and corporate consciousness. Sugar creates inflammation and feeds parasites, both physical and energetic. As you rise in frequency, your body becomes intolerant of anything that would pull you back down. It's not punishing you. It's protecting your new vibration. Many people also experience what I call vibrational flu. You feel like you're getting sick. Body aches, fatigue, chills, headaches, congestion. But it's not a virus. You rest, you take care of yourself, and within 24 to 48 hours, it's gone. Then a week or two later, it happens again. This is your physical body upgrading its operating system to match your energetic frequency. Your cells are literally being restructured to hold more light. This process requires enormous amounts of energy, which is why you feel exhausted. And as dense energy moves out of your cellular memory, it creates temporary symptoms that mimic illness. The key phrase here is temporary. If you're experiencing chronic, ongoing illness, that's different and requires medical attention. But if you're experiencing waves of symptoms that come and go without a clear medical cause, you're likely experiencing ascension symptoms. Now let's talk about something that's deeply disturbing to many people. Increased empathic sensitivity. You walk into a room and immediately feel overwhelmed by emotions that aren't yours. You scroll social media and absorb the collective anxiety like a sponge. You talk to a friend who's struggling and their pain lodges in your body for hours or days. You watch the news and feel physically ill from the suffering you're witnessing. This isn't weakness. This is your empathic abilities coming online without proper boundaries. As your frequency rises, the walls between your energy field and others' energy fields become more permeable. You're becoming naturally psychic, naturally empathic, naturally energetically aware. But if you don't learn how to manage this gift, it becomes a curse. You have to learn energetic hygiene, clearing your field regularly, setting boundaries, shielding when necessary, discerning what's yours and what belongs to others. This isn't something we're taught in school, so most people are walking around as psychic sponges, absorbing everything and wondering why they feel crazy. Another sensory shift. Heightened awareness of energy in spaces and objects. You walk into certain stores or buildings and immediately want to leave. The energy feels wrong, heavy, chaotic. You touch certain objects and get information about who owned them or what energy they carry. You can sense when someone is lying even when their words sound convincing. You know things without knowing how you know them. This is your claircognizance and clairsentience activating. You're reading energy fields the way you used to read facial expressions. This is normal for higher frequency humans, but it can be disorienting when you're not used to it. There's also a scientific bridge I want to mention here because I know some of you need the rational explanation to feel comfortable with what you're experiencing. The Earth has an electromagnetic field called the Schumann resonance, which has historically vibrated at about 7.83 Hertz. This frequency has been stable for thousands of years. But starting in 2014 and accelerating dramatically in recent years, the Schumann resonance has been spiking, sometimes reaching 40 to 50 Hertz or higher. These spikes correlate with solar flares, cosmic ray influxes, and other celestial events. And here's what matters. The human brain and heart have electromagnetic fields that naturally synchronize with the Schumann resonance. When that frequency spikes, our internal systems have to adjust. This explains the physical symptoms: headaches, dizziness, heart palpitations, anxiety, insomnia. Your bioelectric field is literally being upgraded to match the planetary frequency shift. Additionally, we're in solar cycle 25, which is producing increased solar activity. Solar flares send charged particles toward Earth, and these particles interact directly with human consciousness and physiology. Ancient cultures knew this. They tracked solar cycles and understood their impact on human awareness. So when I talk about frequency shifts and dimensional transitions, there's actually measurable scientific phenomena underlying these experiences. You're not imagining this. Your body is responding to real, quantifiable changes in Earth's electromagnetic environment. The key message in this module is this: your body is not broken, it's upgrading. And the more you can support it through this process, rest when you need to, eat clean, high-frequency foods, spend time in nature, drink lots of water, move your body gently, the smoother this transition will be. We're going to close the core teaching section with what might be the most socially challenging aspect of the 2026 shift: the complete death of your ability to wear social masks. For your entire life, you've been conditioned to perform, to say the right things, to maintain appearances, to engage in small talk even when it feels meaningless, to pretend you're fine when you're falling apart, to play roles that make others comfortable even when they suffocate your soul. This is the social mask, the adapted self you developed to navigate a world that punished authenticity and rewarded conformity. But in 2026, something in you has fundamentally broken. You literally cannot do it anymore. You can't have surface-level conversations about weather and sports when your soul is processing the meaning of existence. You can't pretend to care about gossip and drama when you're going through an identity death. You can't engage in performative social media when you're questioning the nature of reality itself. You can't maintain relationships that require you to shrink, to perform, to betray yourself to keep the peace. The 2026 frequency is intolerant of lies, and every time you put on the social mask now, your body revolts. Mutsdom. You get anxious. You feel sick. You can't wait to leave. You feel like you're suffocating. This is not a personality flaw. This is your soul refusing to participate in the old game anymore. And here's where it gets really difficult. Other people notice. Your family notices that you're different, that you don't engage the way you used to, that you've become distant or strange. Your friends notice that you're not as available, not as fun, not as willing to participate in the activities that used to define your connection. Your colleagues notice that you're going through the motions, but your heart isn't in it anymore. And they're not wrong. You have changed. Fundamentally, irreversibly changed. The problem is, most people are not going through this shift. Most people are still operating in the 3D survival matrix, still invested in the social game, still believing that external validation and material success equal fulfillment. And when you stop playing by those rules, it makes them uncomfortable because your evolution becomes a mirror showing them what they're avoiding in themselves. So you start to lose people. Friends drop away. Family members become critical or concerned. Romantic relationships that seemed solid suddenly reveal their incompatibility. Work environments that you tolerated become unbearable. And you might find yourself thinking, what's wrong with me? Why can't I just be normal? Why am I losing everyone? But here's the truth that will set you free. You aren't losing friends. You're losing anchors that were keeping you in the old timeline. Every person who falls away is making space for new connections that match your current frequency. Every relationship that ends was built on a version of you that no longer exists. Every social circle that feels alien now was designed for a game you're no longer playing. This is the great loneliness of the awakening journey. You become a stranger in your own life, but this loneliness is not the destination. It's the birth canal. You're in the period where the old has died, but the new hasn't fully formed yet. You're between tribes. The old tribe doesn't recognize you anymore, but you haven't found your new soul family yet. This gap can last months or even years, and it requires tremendous faith to endure. But let me tell you what's on the other side. Connections deeper than anything you've experienced before. Relationships based on genuine soul recognition rather than social convenience. Friendships where you can be completely authentic without fear of judgment. Partnerships that celebrate your evolution rather than fear it. The universe is clearing out everyone who cannot match where you're going, and I know it hurts. I know it feels like rejection and abandonment. But it's actually the most loving thing that could happen, because continuing to invest energy in mismatched relationships would drain the very frequency you need to step into your new timeline. Here's something I want you to understand. You can't take everyone with you. You can't wait for your family to understand. You can't delay your evolution until your friends are ready to join you. This is your journey, and some people are simply not meant to be part of your next chapter. And that's not a judgment of them. It's not that they're less evolved or wrong. They're on their own path, their own timing. Your job is not to convince them or save them or bring them along. Your job is to honor your own soul's calling, even when it means walking alone for a while. The death of the social mask also means you can no longer tolerate toxic environments. Jobs where you're undervalued. Families where your truth is silenced. Friend groups where gossip and negativity are the bonding agents. Social media environments designed to trigger comparison and inadequacy. You're becoming allergic to anything that compromises your energy. And this is appropriate. This is your system protecting itself. The final piece of this module is about small talk, and I know this resonates with so many of you. You go to a social gathering, someone asks, "How are you?" and you want to scream because the real answer is, "I'm dying and being reborn simultaneously. I'm questioning everything I thought I knew. I'm having mystical experiences and existential crises. I'm more awake than I've ever been and more uncertain about everything." But you know they don't want that answer. They want, "I'm fine, how are you?" And you literally cannot force those words out anymore. This is where you have to develop what I call dimensional fluency, the ability to interface with 3D reality while operating from a 5D consciousness. You learn to have the surface conversation when necessary without betraying your truth. You learn to meet people where they are without abandoning where you are. You learn to be in the world but not of it. This is an art, not a science, and it takes practice. But it's essential because unless you plan to live in a cave, you're going to have to navigate a world where most people are still operating at a different frequency. The key is, don't fake it. Don't put the mask back on. But also don't force your awakening on people who aren't asking for it. Motto. Find the middle path of authentic engagement without energetic compromise. If you are feeling the death of your social mask right now, if you've lost relationships and you're standing in the rubble wondering what happened, I want you to know that you're not alone. This is part of the process. The loneliness is temporary. The isolation is purposeful. And your soul family is looking for you right now, just as you're looking for them. If you are still here at the end of this 40-minute journey, it is because your soul has already made the choice. Think about that for a moment. In a world of infinite distractions, of endless content designed to grab your attention for seconds before moving on, you have invested 40 minutes of your precious time into understanding what's happening to you. That is not an accident. That is not a coincidence. You aren't just watching a video right now. You are participating in a global frequency calibration. Every person who has watched this entire transmission, who has resonated with these words, who has felt the recognition of shared experience, we are forming a field together. We are creating a collective anchor point that says we see what's happening. We're awake. We're ready. The strangeness you feel isn't a sign that you are lost. Read that again, because your ego is desperate to interpret everything unfamiliar as danger. The strangeness is not evidence that you're on the wrong path or losing your mind. The strangeness is the feeling of your old skin falling away. Think of a snake during shedding season. Its vision becomes cloudy, its skin feels tight and uncomfortable, it has to retreat and become vulnerable. And during that process, if the snake could think the way humans think, it would probably panic. Something is wrong with me. I can't see clearly. I don't feel like myself. I need to go back to how I was. But of course, the snake can't go back. The old skin is already dying. The new skin is already forming beneath. The only way forward is to complete the shed, even though it's uncomfortable and disorienting. You are that snake, and 2026 is your shedding season. The old identity, the old patterns, the old timeline, these are the skin you've outgrown. You can't squeeze back into them no matter how hard you try. Trying to force yourself back into the old version of your life would be like trying to stuff a butterfly back into a cocoon. It's not just uncomfortable. It's impossible. In 2026, the gap between knowing and experiencing is closing. For years, maybe decades, you've had spiritual insights, intuitive hits, soul whispers telling you there was more to reality than what you could see. You read books, watched videos, attended workshops. You knew intellectually that you were a spiritual being having a human experience. But knowing and living are two different things. 2026 is the year where the knowing becomes the living, where the spiritual concepts you've studied are now becoming your lived reality, where the mystical experiences you read about are now happening to you directly, where the transformation you witnessed in others is now occurring in your own body, mind, and life. This is why it feels so intense. You're not just learning about awakening anymore, you're being awakened. And that process is not gentle, it's not convenient. It doesn't care about your schedule or your comfort level or your preference for gradual change. Your soul has been waiting lifetimes for this moment, and it's not interested in half measures anymore. You are the bridge between the world that was and the world that is becoming. Let that responsibility and that honor sink in. You're not just passively experiencing this shift, you're actively creating it. Every time you choose authenticity over performance, you anchor a new frequency. Every time you honor your truth despite external pressure, you create permission for others to do the same. Every time you trust the process despite the terror, you strengthen the collective field of awakening consciousness. You are a way shower whether you feel ready for that role or not. And here's what you need to understand about way showers. We don't have a map. We don't have a guidebook. We don't have a mentor who has walked this exact path before us because this particular shift at this particular time in this particular way has never happened before. Yes, there have been spiritual teachers and awakened beings throughout history. But the collective planetary shift happening right now, where millions of people are simultaneously awakening while still navigating modern society, this is unprecedented. You're pioneering new territory. This is why your only job now is to stop resisting the shift and start trusting the strange feelings as your new compass. Your logical mind will tell you that strange equals wrong, that different equals dangerous, that unfamiliar equals unsafe. But your soul knows that strange is simply the sensation of expansion. Different is the evidence of evolution. Unfamiliar is the texture of new territory. When you learned to walk as a child, standing upright felt strange, but you didn't interpret that strangeness as a sign to stop. You trusted the process. You fell, you got back up, you tried again. And eventually, the strange became normal. This is your walk now, but at a consciousness level. You're learning to operate from a completely different center of gravity. You're developing new senses, new capacities, new ways of perceiving and interacting with reality. Of course it feels strange. Of course you're wobbly. Of course you fall sometimes. But you're learning, you're growing, you're becoming. And every day that you choose to trust the process, even when you can't see the destination, you're building the exact faith and resilience that your new timeline requires. So I'm going to ask you to make a radical shift right now. Stop pathologizing the symptoms. Stop treating the strangeness as a problem to be solved. Stop asking, what's wrong with me, and start asking, what's being born through me? The anxiety you feel, that's old energy moving out of your system. The isolation you're experiencing, that's the gap between timelines. The exhaustion that seems to have no medical cause, that's the energetic cost of transformation. The loss of interest in old activities, that's your soul redirecting your attention toward your true purpose. Nothing is wrong. Everything is working exactly as it should. And I want to acknowledge something that might be happening as you listen to these words. Relief. You might be feeling profound relief right now because finally someone is articulating what you've been experiencing in isolation. Finally, there's a framework that explains the chaos. Finally, you have evidence that you're not crazy, you're not alone, and you're not broken. That relief you feel, hold on to it. Return to this video when the doubt creeps back in. Because it will creep back in. Your ego will try to convince you that this was just comforting words, that the real world doesn't work this way, that you need to get back to normal. When that happens, remember this moment. Remember that 40 minutes ago you felt lost, and now you feel found. That shift happened because truth resonates at a frequency that your soul recognizes. You are exactly where you need to be. The timing is perfect. The breakdowns were necessary. The isolation was purposeful. The strangeness is confirmation that you're evolving beyond the old paradigm. Now I want us to do something together. This isn't about algorithm manipulation or artificial engagement. And this is about creating a collective energetic declaration that will ripple through the field and anchor all of us into the new timeline with greater stability. I want us to perform a collective timeline anchor right now. I don't want you to just like this video, though if you feel called to do that, please do. I don't want you to just subscribe to the channel, though that would be amazing and would help this message reach more people who need it. I want you to mark your territory in this new frequency through a conscious act of declaration. Here's what I'm asking you to do. Scroll down to the comments right now and type the phrase, "I am present in the new timeline." When you type those words, you are doing more than just commenting on a video. You are performing a quantum act. Chanu, you are sending a signal to your own subconscious mind that you are no longer a victim of the circumstances, no longer passively experiencing the shifts, no longer waiting for someone else to give you permission to step into your power. You are declaring to yourself, to the collective field, to the universe itself, "I am conscious, I am awake, I am here. And I am actively participating in the creation of the new reality." The act of typing those words and putting them into the digital collective field creates an energetic ripple. Every other person who sees your comment will feel the resonance, and together we create a morphic field, a pattern of consciousness that makes it easier for the next person and the next person and the next person to step into this awareness. This is how collective awakening works. One conscious declaration at a time. I am going into the comments personally to read every single one of these declarations. I want to witness you. I want to see how many of us are awake and standing together in this 2026 portal. I want to feel the power of our collective presence. And here's the second part. If you're experiencing a specific sign like the 3 a.m. wake-up calls we talked about, or the identity fatigue, or the sudden loss of relationships, or the time glitches, or any of the other symptoms we've covered, add that to your comments so we can support each other in this transition. It might look like I am present in the new timeline, experiencing the 3 a.m. downloads and dietary shifts. Or, I am present in the new timeline, lost my entire friend group in 2025 and feeling isolated but understanding why now. Or, I am present in the new timeline, time feels completely distorted and I'm in the void phase. By sharing your specific experience, you create connection points with others going through the same thing. You'll be able to read through the comments and see, oh my God, thousands of other people are waking up at 3 a.m. too. I'm not alone. This is real. That recognition, that validation, that solidarity, it matters more than you know. The old paradigm kept us isolated, convinced that our experiences were unique, that we were the only ones struggling. But the new paradigm is built on transparency, authenticity, and collective support. We're building that right here, right now in this comment section. So please take 30 seconds, scroll down, type the declaration, add your specific experience if you feel called to share it. And then, and this is important, scroll through and read other people's comments, witness them, maybe reply to someone who shares your experience. Create connection. The old world is loud. It's full of noise, distraction, fear-mongering, and division. It's designed to keep you small, scared, and separated. But the new world is powerful. It's built on truth, authenticity, soul recognition, and collective awakening. And it's not coming someday in the distant future. It's being born right now through conscious choices made by people like you who are willing to stand in their truth even when it's uncomfortable. You have survived the great clearing of 2025. You have endured the void. You have felt the strangeness and didn't run away. You watched 40 minutes of content that asks you to completely reconsider your reality, and you didn't click away. That means something. That means you're ready. So make the declaration, claim your space in the new timeline, and let's anchor this frequency together. I'll see you in the comments. And I'll see you on the other side of this shift when we can all look back and recognize this moment as the turning point where we stopped being victims of the transformation and became conscious co-creators of it. Stay in your light, trust the strange, honor the process, and know that you are so much more powerful than you've been allowing yourself to believe. The new timeline is waiting for you, and you just declared yourself present in it. Thank you for being here. Thank you for your courage. Thank you for continuing to show up even when everything is uncertain. This is how we change the world, one awakened consciousness at a time. I am present in the new timeline. And so are you.